Over the past few days, the crypto market has rallied back. Bitcoin is back above $43,000 per coin. Ethereum is back above $2,300 per coin. And if you guys already follow my trades over on Fairdesk, you do copy trading with me, well, you'll see that we opened up a trade when Bitcoin was under $40,000 per coin. It was at $39,000 per coin, and I've added a little bit more to that since. But now this trade is up over 340% since then, up around $36,000. So if you don't already, you can follow my trades just using the link for Fairdesk in the description. But if we're looking at Bitcoin in terms of technicals, and why I'm keeping this trade open is because if we're looking at Bitcoin right now, we recently had this golden cross, which is where the 50-day moving average crossed above the 200-day moving average. This is historically a very bullish sign for the crypto market. Not only this, but also I had talked about in previous videos how Bitcoin had to stay above this $41,500 per coin support on the weekly chart. And while we did drop down significantly below that, we dropped to around 38,600. While we did see that happen, we have not yet seen a weekly close below it. So for the last 7 or 8 weeks now, we've just been trading sideways, just staying above this $41,500 support and below the $45,000 support. So right now, I'm expecting much of the same, sideways trading over the next couple of weeks until we see some sort of either positive or negative catalyst. So right now, because we did see this last week where there was a long tail on this candlestick, it's actually a very bullish pattern for crypto. And I've talked about it over on Twitter. So right now, I'm actually more bullish than bearish in the short term for Bitcoin. And that's why I'm going to continue to keep this trade open as it is up around $36,000. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about an altcoin that I recently invested in called DNX, symbol DNX. It's available on a number of different exchanges, and they're constantly listing on more. You can see the entire list over on CoinMarketCap under the market section. And it's the world's first neuromorphic supercomputing blockchain based on the DNX solve chip algorithm. It's a proof of useful work approach to solving real world problems. And the cool thing about it is that it's a global network consisting of more than 170,000 GPUs that can deal with any sort of task with a quantum-like computing performance. As a result of this, 2,022 jobs have already successfully been completed on the DNX network. Computing on DNX is actually really simple. Just sign up on their marketplace at live.dynx.org, and you can basically start right away. So jobs can be posted on the marketplace and the DNX experts will do all the work for you. So you just need to pull the results. Ultimately, DNX was designed to give absolutely everyone the possibility to use a supercomputer, from startups to global 2,000 companies, from private investors to research bodies and universities, basically everyone, and they are providing the tools to solve societal challenges. So all of this is just done at a fraction of the cost of a traditional supercomputer, and it's instantly accessible. Now let's talk about what's been going on with Bitcoin ETFs. First thing I want to talk about is going to be with what's going on in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong recently received its first spot Bitcoin ETF application. This is after we've seen around a dozen or so being approved in the US. And this happened just, a few weeks after all of the spot Bitcoin ETFs were approved in the US. So a recent report came out on January 26th from Tencent News, and the report said that ultimately one of China's largest fund managers submitted a spot Bitcoin ETF application, and it says that the regulatory body is actively working to expedite the process for approval of ETFs in the country to launch the first Hong Kong spot Bitcoin ETF after the Chinese New Year on February 10th. This would be a major bullish catalyst for the crypto market, as it would allow institutions in China, one of the largest countries in the world in terms of population and GDP, to then invest easily into crypto. So this would be something that would be huge, help bring a lot more money into the space, and it's just something just to definitely keep an eye out on. I would expect that we would see an approval in China, considering we've already seen almost a dozen approvals in the US. It's just very likely that they're going to follow suit, because they're not going to want to fall behind and see billions of dollars, go into US spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, if we're looking at what's been going on with other aspects in the crypto market, we've also seen that recently Anthony Scaramucci recently predicted that Bitcoin is going to hit at least $170,000 post-halving. And the reason I wanted to talk about this price prediction in particular is because it's based off of the Bitcoin halving. And with his prediction, he's saying that the day that Bitcoin halves multiply by 4, and 18 months later, it's been uncanny that's been the price of Bitcoin. So he says, ultimately, if you look at historically every single halving for Bitcoin, if you look at right at the halving, what the price of Bitcoin is, whatever it is, he says, historically, it's always going to be 4 times higher than that 18 months later. So he says he's using $35,000 per coin as the halving. And that's conservative. But he says if we see it's at $35,000 per coin come April when the halving takes place, well, then he would expect to see $200,000 per coin. He would expect to see $170,000 per coin. He says, but let's say we see it at $50,000 per coin at the halving, well, then he's expecting to see $200,000 per coin. Just multiply it by 4. So ultimately, if you look at historical data, this is true. And while I think it is a very bullish target, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities, considering it has historically happened every single Bitcoin halving in the past. The key thing you have to note now is that Bitcoin's market cap is a lot higher than what it previously has been. So it's just something you definitely need to consider. I'm expecting that we will see, definitely positive momentum, prices be significantly higher 18 months after the halving. But considering the fact that market cap is a lot higher, we might not see it do a 4x return from where it currently is at. Now let's switch gears and talk about what's been going on with ARK Invest, because recently ARK Invest sold their Bitcoin futures position to buy $65 million worth of its own spot Bitcoin ETF. So since January 19th, ARK Invest has sold a total of 2.2 million shares of BITO, which is the ProShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, and they've purchased a total of $65 million, just around $66 million of the ARKB, which is ARK 21 shares Bitcoin ETF. So that is their very own spot Bitcoin ETF. So while there aren't many differences between these ETFs, it makes sense that ARK Invest would be investing in their own versus a competitor's. Really, the main differences between all of these different spot Bitcoin ETFs are just going to be the fees. A lot of them have, smaller management fees, higher management fees. They're just slightly they're slightly different in terms of these fees, which is why a lot of large institutions has actually sold Grayscale Bitcoin ETF because of the higher fees that it has versus some of the competitors. Now let's talk about some things with altcoins, because altcoins, we've seen quite a bit of news for Solana and with Cardano. So Solana recently flipped Ethereum in terms of DeFi trading volume as the Juniper airdrop nears. So as of last night, the rolling 24-hour trading volume on Solana-based decentralized exchanges surpassed Ethereum. And if you look on DeFi Llama, at the time, it was slightly higher. Now it's back down a little bit. But if you look at the 24-hour volume for different layer 1 cryptos, you could see that for DEXs, Ethereum saw $741.68 million in 24-hour volume, and Solana had $704 million. So it's just back down, but at the time, Solana was at $705 million versus Ethereum, which is at $698 million. This is the first time this has really happened since we saw all the drama with Solana meme coins back in December of 2023. So this is something that is very exciting, something to keep an eye out on, because now that we've seen Solana rally in the last few days, it's up 6% in the last 24 hours. Now that we're seeing Bitcoin rally and combine this with major airdrop coming from Juniper, I think it's going to have a very, very bullish catalyst for Solana's overall price, because right now Solana is sitting right around $100 per token when it had reached a high back just a few weeks ago of over $120 per token. So I'm expecting that it very well could do the same thing and go a little bit higher than that, even because of what's going on in the market. So if you look at the last year, you could see it did hit around $121 per coin back in December 25th. So that's about a 20% return from where we are currently at. Last thing I do want to go over is going to be with Cardano, because the weekly development report came out for Cardano. And for the week of January 26, 2024, we've seen a few major changes for Cardano, and that is that it has surpassed the 82 million mark in terms of transactions, which is extremely bullish. And also they're approaching 9.5 million native tokens. So while we haven't seen any major new catalyst for Cardano's price, seeing this weekly development report, seeing new projects launching, seeing more transactions and native tokens launch, all of these things are extremely bullish, combined with the fact that we have started to see Bitcoin's price rally. And that's one of the many reasons why I did open up that trade as of recently.